Hi everyone, this is BiblioTech West and my name is Jesse.
And I'm Rosanna.
In honor of Pride Month, we created a short list of LGBTQ plus games we feel allow you to connect to LGBTQ plus characters and storylines.
LGBTQ plus representation has come a long way in video games, from not having any queer characters or story arcs to now having award-winning games that feature queer characters prominently. There have been developers out there that make sure this community is included. Not all of these stories are focused on a character coming out or having to hide who they are. Their identities are made known and flow into the story without making much of a big deal about it. Not to say that coming out stories are not important, because they are, but when you can have a character be themselves and not solely rely on who they are attracted to or rising above the hate they may face because of their identity, it gives a sense of normalcy and inclusion that is sometimes missing.
The first game on our list is The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the only AAA games featuring a lesbian protagonist and her relationship as the core of the story. Ellie, a deuteragonist of the first game and now protagonist of the second game, is an out lesbian who is in a sapphic relationship with another character in the game, Dina, who identifies as bisexual. You get to see the progression of that relationship, including easy flirting to heavy discussions about their future. The studio that developed this game, Naughty Dog, does an amazing job in making you emotionally invested in these characters as they navigate the bleak landscape of their world. The next game on our list is actually a trilogy of games. We're looking at Mass Effect Parts 1, 2, and 3. In these games, you have Commander Shepard, who can be played as male or female, and can engage in different romantic relationships along with males and females of different species in the game. Probably the most popular relationship that players choose to follow is that of Commander Shepard, being played as a female human, and Liara T'Soni, who is an Asari. In this trilogy, your choices carry from game to game. You can actually start a relationship with someone in Part 1, then decide to start a relationship with someone else in Part 2 while dealing with the consequences of your first relationship not working out. You can also fall in love with one character and remain faithful to them throughout the trilogy and witness the ups and downs that come with that. We like this one as it's set in the distant future where all types of relationships and identities are accepted.
The next game on our list is Celeste. The protagonist of this game, Madeline, a transgender character whose main goal is to climb the mountain Celeste. As a small moment at the end of the game, it is revealed that Madeline is actually a trans character. While not explicitly stated or talked about in-game, it's still nice to see a tough character like Madeline successfully complete the challenge of scaling the mountain, and you, as the player, taking this character through the insanely challenging campaign. It not only showcases Madeline's strength, but endurance as well. She is a character that is willing to go up against anything in her way and overcome these obstacles, whether as a mountain slope or in her day-to-day life. Next on our list is Life is Strange: True Colors. You play as Alex, a girl who has the power of empathy in this 5th installment of the series. She is a bisexual character who is able to have a relationship with either the character Steph or Ryan. This game does a very good job of being inclusive in regards to Alex's sexuality, but the game itself doesn't revolve around the subject of it. Alex is a complicated character who comes from a broken family and jumped around homes in the foster system, not to mention her powers of empathy that ostracized her from forming any meaningful connections growing up. Making connections is a big part of the game, whether to intentionally romance one of the NPC characters or to find out the mysteries of the town that Alex is currently residing in. And while they may not always end on a hopeful note, the option is there, and it is amazing to see the development that Alex goes through and that she is able to put herself first at the end of the game.
The next game on our list is Gone Home. In Gone Home, you play as Katie. She is the sister of Sam, who through various diary entries and voice memos, you find out about a developing sapphic relationship with Lonnie and unfold the events that lead up to the ending where they are able to run away together. As this game was set in the 90s and has one of the characters almost joining the military at some point, one can't help but think that as progressive as things were in the 90s, you still had people who had to be secretive in their relationships as far as their families and careers, with such policies as don't ask, don't tell, that could put folks at risk. It's nice to see that this game ultimately does have a happy ending with both LGBTQ plus characters still alive and in the relationship.
Next on our list is Overwatch. Tracer, probably the most recognizable character of this game, identifies as a lesbian, as in one of the spin-off comics, she is seen in a relationship with another woman. At the time, to have a character who is essentially the mascot of the game, be out and proud, and be a confident character is a major step towards getting more recognizable LGBTQ characters in game rosters, especially as cover art for a game. Now, Soldier 76, one of the older human characters in the game, has been confirmed to identify as gay. Seeing an older and established in-game character who can definitely be considered more on the masculine side identify as gay, in a way, is a nicer nod to older LGBTQ plus members that might not see this kind of representation in a video game of all things, especially when you consider, on a more somber note, that many aren't alive today due to the AIDS crisis of the 80s. So to see themselves in media like this today is another major step that Blizzard took with this character.
Some games that deserve an honorable mention and are available over various platforms are Hades. The protagonist Zagreus, who is a half-god and the prince of the titular game Hades, is able to enter a romance with another male character and or be part of a polyamorous relationship. The next game getting honorable mention is Fire Emblem. This game has characters that are able to engage in same-sex relationships as well, which can lead to establishing stronger alliances and kingdoms in the game, and of course furthering character development. The next game worth an honorable mention is Tell Me Why. In this game, the protagonist is a trans male character, which is worked into the game and mentioned. This game has won recognition and awards, especially with GLAAD, for its portrayal of the character of Tyler and the positive trans representation he brought to the game. Even though LGBTQ plus rep has increased quite a bit in games, trans representation is still lacking. So to have a character like Tyler be written so well, and to also be voiced by a trans actor too, is a big step forward in gaming.
These are just a few games with LGBTQ plus representation that showcase how far inclusion in the gaming world has come. Developers and creators have made it a point to be sure that everyone is represented, and while it may not always be perfect representation or the most accurate, it does remind people who may not be LGBTQ themselves that there is a larger community out there that deserves to be recognized, and to players that are in the community, that you have the option to get lost in a video game world that you can fully immerse yourself in, identity and all.